A quorum is present.
Before we get started, we have a special commendation to K9 Avar on the occasion of your retirement after 5 years of dedicated service. Whereas Avar is a 7-year-old German Shepherd that's been assigned to the Inglewood Police Department's K9 unit for the past 5 years, and whereas Avar has partnered with Officer Ronald Nunn during his years of service with Inglewood, and whereas Avar has participated in several deployments that have resulted in the arrest of wanted individuals and the recovery of dangerous items, and whereas Avar's committed service has helped to protect the well-being of citizens and the police officers of the city of Inglewood, and whereas after 5 years of service, the Inglewood Police Department is retiring Avar so that he may enjoy a normal life. Now therefore be it known that the mayor and council members of the city of Inglewood, California do hereby congratulate K9 Avar and wishes him well during his retirement. Presented the 12th day of February 2013.
Are you going to ask him to speak, Mayor?
I want a picture.
And we're going to walk over there. And one more announcement. It looks like the situation with the LAPD officer came to an end in Big Bear today. One of the officers that was wounded in Riverside when this initially started had just left Inglewood probably a month or so prior. And that officer's name was Tachias? Tachias. So he's doing well. I just wondered if you heard that an Inglewood officer was killed. He was not killed, but he was wounded in the arm. All right, so come on, let's go over here.
So it came to you. So they burned it down. How'd they do that? You can email them to us. Yeah. Let them get one with the family. Just talk.
Oh, there we go.
No, but he did that first. And then he was in a cabin. So would they put it would they ever put it how they do it? That's nice. Ready to retire. Yeah, right. I was like, this is right.
Take it, man. Take it, man.
Congratulations.
Any persons wishing to address the City Council on any item on today's agenda other than closed session may do so at this time.
I only want to speak on the support of the two council members who were defamed in Inglewood today. And there is, it is an item on the agenda.
Ma'am, you have to, there's nothing on the agenda.
Well,
Ma'am.
Councilmember Stevens has been defamed for giving police unlimited powers and gang.
Ma'am, you can speak at the end of the meeting. Thank you. All right, is there anyone else who wants to speak on the item on the agenda?
Yes, council members, I have a couple items I'd like to have some clarification on the this parking enterprise services. Obviously, we're going to be processing the parking tickets for Compton, Covina, and Vista. What does this entail as far as money into the city of Inglewood? And then on the Public Works, under the Van Ness Avenue Improvement Project, what does that project entail? What exactly are they going to be doing out there? I'd just like to have some clarification on those two items, please.
Okay.
Good evening, council members. I got to tell you, it's always so much fun when I find these little things. I'm going to suggest that everyone go on to that fixed pensions first thing for the city of, I think it's Santa Monica. And notice the common name we have here. Well, everybody can do that, and you'll find several of them now that I noticed that. But amazing. On this ROPS that you've just handed, or that has just been presented, the recognized obligation payment schedule, I have to worry about item number 63, the Vaughn's Company. Until 2013, we're still paying off $50,000 bond, I guess it is. And they still don't pay us any taxes because we refund that again. Bonds, 20 some odd years? Is it longer? I don't know, it just seems like for old Sears Roebuck site, some of these things that have been going on for on and on and on. Oh, looky there, item number 39. We claim we don't have anything to do with that, and yet, oh my goodness, I think we actually started that, didn't we? We did cough up the cash to start that. So that Osage Villa nightmare is really our nightmare. You know, the one where all those signatures came where they wanted to know about something else, and you said it was about meetings. Oh, which leads me to another thought. Does anyone know how old Betty White and Barbara Walters are? Do we think they're forgetful? Don't remember things? Newsflash, they're both older than the lady you said was forgetful. How about that? Go figure. Not all seniors are forgetful. When somebody fakes a signature, when somebody cuts and pastes. Osage Senior Villas were part of that. And so was that nice little rehab, the place that people don't ever leave. Some of those signatures are people that are not going to be coming to any meeting because they're not leaving their beds. And yet, what was that excuse? Seniors forget. So I guess that means everybody in this room is a senior who forgets. And I guess it's not nighttime outside because we wouldn't be here, would we? My, oh my. Well, let's go back to, where were we? The recognized obligation payment schedule. And I guess I could be really bratty and say some of our minutes needed to be updated, but Madison Square Gardens, over and over and over again. Now today we also have that Hollywood Parks division up there. Did you run that by the ALUC? I will.
My name is Alfonso Parker Jr. I'm a Vietnam veteran, conscious subjector at that, 66, 67. I'm going to harp on this because this is a federal crime. These documents that you're passing off and trying to swap in and out real documents, when they federalized in 74, the Privacy Act.
Alfonso, what item are you speaking on the agenda?
On the document that...
no, that's not on the agenda. It's not on the agenda. You can speak at the end of the meeting. Thank you, sir. close public comment. Item 1, CSA 1 and H2.
Warrant register, allow for payment of the bills.
Move below payment. Second.
I'd like comment, please.
Councilwoman Dunlap.
Yes, actually, Mayor, with all due respect to the chair, a member of the public that you said had to speak at the end of the meeting actually could have spoken as she wished at the beginning of the meeting under agenda items, because on the warrant register, there actually is 4,000 checks made out to the Inglewood Today newspaper for over $4,000. And there are many members of the public who are not aware that taxpayer funds are subsidizing the publication of this newspaper. So therefore, with all due respect to the chair, she should have had a right to have spoken. Now she'll have to wait till the end, but I want to bring that up. Over $4,000 in this particular one-week register.
I would like to ask the chair to be recognized.
You speak about the warrant register.
Yes, I would. I'd like to ask
Councilwoman
you.
Stevens.
Yes, I would like to ask to be recognized to ask a question of the city attorney of City of Inglewood.
No, you can direct the question to the chair. If I need to, I'll direct it to the city attorney.
Okay. My question is that I'd like to ask the city attorney, since item number 530975 for Inglewood Today Weekly newspaper advertisement publication of ordinance, and we have a line item here for $3,500. We have another line item here for $575. If the city attorney, number one, if he believes that the mayor was appropriate, correct in restricting the free speech of the resident who came to the podium and was interested in wanting to address this particular issue, Inglewood Today newspaper, I'd like for you to ask the city attorney if in fact your action was correct to restrict her from being able to speak at the beginning of the council meeting, and instead she needs to now wait until the end of the council meeting to address an issue that she could have addressed at the beginning. She may very well have something else she would like to do this evening.
Okay, Councilman Stevens, I didn't see the attenuation, and so that's why I said that it wasn't on the agenda. She didn't say that she was speaking on the warrant register. I made the decision I did. I'm not going to ask the city attorney to rule on my judgment. Madam City Clerk.
Well, Mr. Point of order. Point of order.
What's your point of order?
Is it actually necessary for you to propose my question to the city attorney? Could the city attorney address that?
Actually, the way it works is you make your point of order, the chair considers it, and I make a ruling, and I've made a ruling.
That's not in compliance with Robert's Rules of Order.
Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Stevens.
And we are voting on, Madam City Clerk?
The bills.
Payment, the bills.
Payment of the bills, warrant
Yes.
register? I would like to pull the Inglewood Today subscription, 530975, due to the fact that the public was not able to speak on that. If we could pull that particular item, then I would vote for the remainder.
And we're
There's a
pulling it to
motion.
do what?
To pull that item of Inglewood
Off of the
Today
agenda?
off of this warrant register.
Okay,
I
and
will
that's a
then
motion?
be willing to, since the public was not allowed to address it, I would then
Okay,
support
Can we
voting
slow
for
up
the
just a little bit?
balance.
We already have a motion on the floor, so are you going to retract that motion?
No, actually, we're going to vote on the motion that's on the floor.
Okay.
Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye,
This is,
for the motion that's on the floor.
okay.
No? I beg your pardon?
Dunlap. No. Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
And I will,
Aye.
and I'll amend my motion for a no. I'll amend my vote to a no, excuse me.
You want to change your vote to a no?
To a no,
Got you.
yes.
All right, and it's not the responsibility of the dais to tell the speaker what to refer to. Items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
I so
con-
moved.
consent
So
calendar.
moved. I second.
Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Stevens.
I'd like to pull item number 3. I'd like to pull item number 3.
Items 2, 4, 5, and 6.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Dunlap,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Item 3.
Staff report recommending adoption of a resolution approving the final track map number 69906-001, subject to one condition and/or additional conditions as deemed appropriate.
Good afternoon, Mayor Butts, members of the City Council. This is a final track map request for the Hollywood Park. The purpose of this map is to separate one of the parcels on the project from the remainder of the parcels on the project, and it would be subject to the standard condition of approval that the project ultimately go through the city site plan review process. And I'm essentially here, it's pretty straightforward. Any project that does a subdivision map, if there are any dedications or any other conditions of approval, it's standard for the city council to approve the process. So that's the purpose we're here for tonight. That concludes staff's presentations, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any questions?
Okay. Ms. Tatum, good evening.
Good evening.
Here's my question for you. Total number of parcel sites that we're dealing with here in each track?
On this particular one, there are four lots.
Okay, there's 4 lots, but yet in the backup documentation, it also shows a very detailed, detailed parcel map.
That's correct.
That's where the actual dwelling units are going to be?
If I could have Chris Jackson to come up and speak more specifically to that, but generally what you're looking at is the final map. This is that is what's called the vesting tentative track map for the entire project. What you're acting on tonight is one of the projects within that project that's shown in a different exhibit, not the one you're referring
Well,
to.
maybe Mr. Jackson can speak after my comments because the clock is running. Here's my issue, colleagues, is that, and they're actually related, but we'll just stay on target with this here. Do we have a project labor agreement with any parts of this project, Ms. Tatum? Yes. Do we?
Yes, there is the
Are
project.
you sure, Ms. Tatum?
I know so.
Well, you're not Mrs. Tatum, Mr. Franklin.
Okay.
So, Ms. Tatum, I'm asking a question.
Franklin, let him finish his question.
The project is subject to prevailing wage laws, state of California prevailing wage laws, and one of the ways to implement that is, an option is to have a project labor agreement, and it's my understanding that the project is in compliance with the provisions of the prevailing wage laws for the state of California.
Well, just so the public knows, prevailing wage can be as high as $35 to $45 per hour. And matter of fact, over at the forum, we also have an agreement with them outlining prevailing wage, and they totally usurped it Thursday and Friday. And those individuals who will be working there will be working for $10 and $12 per hour. But that's another issue, and we'll talk about that in a moment. My question for you, Ms. Tatum, is that if in fact we have a prevailing wage, is it in fact with the unions, or is it just something between the city and Hollywood Park, which is similar to the agreement that we have with the forum?
Per the terms of the development agreement that was executed by the city, the project is subject to the prevailing wage rates. However, a project labor agreement can be entered into, and as the project has not yet started, city staff is now in the process of looking at how we go about making sure all of the tools and processes are in place, and that is one consideration that will be taken into consideration, but we must comply with the prevailing wage
okay,
laws
so
for
we
the
do not
state.
actually have a project labor agreement with any local unions or anything like that. We just simply have something similar to what we have with the forum, who usurped our authority and just simply are now offering $10 and $12 an hour jobs at the forum.
The city
That's basically what we have here for the prevailing wage component,
The
correct?
city has the obligation to assure that the terms of the prevailing wage legislation are complied with, and the city has every intent to do that.
Every intent, okay.
Yes.
So here's my other question. You know, Ms. Tatum, nowhere on these maps here that are in here, it doesn't make any reference to us requesting of Hollywood Park to surrender any property for the widening of Century Boulevard or Prairie Avenue. I mean, when we're talking about this project, we're talking about 2,995 dwelling units. Is that correct, Ms. Tatum?
For the entire project, that's the maximum number of dwelling units.
So that means, and each one is 2 to 3 bedrooms. So let's just say we have 2 vehicles per unit. That's 6,000 vehicles. 6,000 vehicles. And yet, nowhere in any of these maps does it state anything about the widening of Century Boulevard, Ms. Tatum. And so I'm concerned about that, colleagues, is that there's no mention to the widening of Century. There's no mention of widening of Prairie to facilitate traffic flow. Is there somewhere in here, Ms. Tatum, of the widening of Prairie, other than the right-hand turn lane? I'm talking about for vehicles continuing on to the onto LAX.
Mayor and City Council, if I can interject for a second. Tonight, we're just discussing
Could you pause my time, Mr. Fields?
Okay.
I'd appreciate it. I've got about 35 seconds.
Okay, go ahead.
So to answer your question,
No,
Wait, I beg your pardon? Mr. Falco?
You don't want the question answered right now?
Well, I want the question answered. I just wanted Mr. Falco to pause my time at 35, but we're down to 15.
There's no mechanism for pausing.
Oh, there isn't?
We're going to just finish.
Oh, well, maybe Mayor will allow me more time then. Go ahead, Ms. Tatum, or Mr. Fields. What'd you ask?
So tonight's agenda is just to approve the track maps. The issue that you're talking about acquiring property along Century, we will be bringing back a separate agenda item to discuss the design and widening of Century for to accommodate the 6,000 plus cars that you're talking about at Hollywood Park.
But
That's just that's a map.
Mr.
but
Fields, but Mr. Fields, Ms. Tatum, my issue is this. This is poor planning through and through. And the reason it's poor planning is that we actually are identifying the actual parcels. This is a breakup of the tracks. That's what this is. So if we're going to widen Century Boulevard or propose a taking of land or a giving of land, it should be written here because this is actually going to be filed. If we're going to take, let's say,
Okay,
Councilman,
Councilman, you've had your additional time.
Well,
We're
no, I haven't.
going to move on. You're at time.
Mayor,
You're at time. Councilman Franklin.
sure, and thank you for bringing it before us to act on. Actually, what this really is about has to do with the community facility district, where in fact those properties that are going to be housed on the project, there's actually going to be imposed a Melrose bond. They're identifying that the casino site, which includes the parking lots, is not going to be part of the assessment of the Melrose bond. And they just identifying that they wanted us to carve that out to identify that as not part of that particular financing. And yes, there has been many discussions back in the day when Danny Tabor was seated in District 1 that we exclusively made sure that there was a project labor agreement in the DDA. And it was the Los Angeles and Orange County Building Trade and Construction Trade that representative was there at the table making sure that was solidified. So it is definitely there. No further comments.
Councilman Morales.
And just going further, Ms. Tatum did a good job of saying that the prevailing wages are our kind of responsibility. It's basically state law. You know, whenever any kind of public subsidy is in there, you have to use prevailing wage. But in regards to the PLA, just for folks who don't understand, that's just in place so that there's a community benefit in terms of either local hire or workforce folks to get on the job site. So that's all I wanted to say. But thank you. That's all we're doing.
And the last thing about prevailing wage, they only come into effect when there's some type of community subsidy or involvement in the project. Is that right?
that's correct.
And so when we have that, then it's our responsibility to appoint a compliance monitor. And even if someone mistakenly or even deliberately doesn't pay a prevailing wage, our compliance process will make sure that people are properly compensated. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just point of order.
You won't get more time.
There's $22 million that the city of Inglewood, through a successor agency, will be awarding to this project.
You don't have any more time.
$22 million, Mr. Mayor, is a contribution by the city from a successor agency.
You don't have any more time. Thank you, Ms. Tatum.
I have a comment.
Councilwoman
You've
Dunlap.
spoken, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, actually, with regard to the Hollywood Park project, it's $22.5 million of redevelopment agency funds, of which $3.9 million has been drawn down and placed in this year's budget. What services were rendered with regard to that 3.9 million? What did we do to get those funds? Do you have any knowledge of that? I know it's not directly related, but do you?
Yes. Let me have our finance director come up, our assistant city manager. But we did discuss this at our first quarter report, and he did speak to that. So, Mr. Esparza, if you could come up and reiterate what you did on.
And with regard to the forum, the $18 million, the subsidies that the successor agency, redevelopment agency put in these projects will make them, require them to pay prevailing wages. And it is up to the city. So if something is occurring there, if any resident is aware that there may be some work done, that they're not paying prevailing wage, they're obligated to pay prevailing wage. So I think you should notify the city. And so that can be looked into, because it is our responsibility to follow up and to do that monitoring.
Mr. Esparza.
Okay, there, I'm sorry. I was actually looking at something else on my, could you repeat the question?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Of the $22.5 million of redevelopment agency funds that we're putting into the Hollywood Park project, which is all going to be passed back to the city of Inglewood, $3.9 million was included in this year's operating budget. Of the $3.9 million, it's, if one were to account for why we received that portion of the $22.5 million, what would your office say accounted for the 3.9 being placed at this time? Design costs. Or in December, which I think is when it took place.
Actually, that would be for the design costs, for the that Mr. Fields was referring to before. And the idea behind the 3.9 million is to basically safeguard the city from any drop in revenues that we would have received otherwise if this development hadn't taken place. So that's the purpose of the funds that I reported in my quarterly report. And so as we start to see the sales tax revenues, the betting track revenues, start to diminish over the period of time, then those funds are to make the city whole. So they're not new funds to be to be described as that.
No, thank you very much. Actually, I think it adds some clarity for the public, because the public has heard in several presentations that the redevelopment agency did provide financial assistance of $22.5 million. If they were attentive to your presentation with regard to the first quarter report, they heard about the $3.9 million, but they'd like a little more clarity with regard to what occurred for that money. Now, I understand that the money from the racetrack is going down. Also, the money from the casino is going down. So I know a portion of that funds is making up those losses to our general fund.
Correct.
And I think it's important for the public to keep on top of what money's going out and how it's being utilized by the city. So thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. CM1.
No city manager reports.
A1.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. There was a closed session held as to CS1. Closed session, confidential attorney-client privilege, potential litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9B1, claim of Richards, Watson, and Gershon, and discussion of water litigation. Request a motion to authorize the engagement of Richards, Watson, and Gershon.
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Council members Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye.
There was a closed session held as to CS2, closed session, confidential, attorney-client privilege, pending litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9A, Cynthia Lorick versus City of Inglewood. Request a motion to authorize settlement.
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye.
There was a closed session held as to CS3 closed session, confidential, attorney-client privilege, pending litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9A, City of Inglewood versus Inglewood Unified School District. Discussions were held, however, no final action was taken. There was a closed session held as to CS4 closed session, confidential, real property negotiator meeting under Government Code Section 54956.8, real property negotiations for the disposition and redevelopment of various city-owned properties located at 335 South Glasgow Avenue. Property negotiators for KP Auto was Michael Coper, and for the City of Inglewood, Artie Fields, City Manager. Discussions were held, however, no final action was taken. And that concludes the reports out of closed session for this evening, Mr. Mayor, and there are no verbal reports.
Thank you. CC1.
Yes, Mayor, thank you very much. Just wanted to remind the residents that the last day to register to vote is March 18th. That's March the 18th. And we'll have early voting in the city clerk's office starting March 4th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Thursday. We also are still in need of some more poll workers, so if you're interested in working for the day, that would be great. And that would be the end of my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam City Treasurer.
I don't have any report, but I just simply want to congratulate Michael Falco, Sister Michael Falco, for having completed his studies for the National NPS Homeland Security's Master's Program. Congratulations. Thank you. And also would like to mention also the free income tax service is still available, but again, keep in mind that it's primarily for residents of Inglewood who have, these are non-complicated returns, no property ownership or complicated stock transaction, primarily simple returns for the most part, because the others take a great deal of time. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Convene the City of Inglewood as a successor agency, Madam City Clerk.
A quorum is present.
CSA 2.
Approval of the minutes held December 18th, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Agency members, Stevens.
Aye.
Dunlap.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Chairman Buds.
Aye. CSA 3.
Staff report recommending adoption of a resolution approving the July 1, 2013 through December 31st, 2013 recognized obligation payment schedule for the submittal to the Oversight Board.
Move approval.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Excuse me, I'd like to comment.
Councilwoman Dunlap.
Yes, could you or someone give the names of the members of that Oversight Board? Often the community asks, Mr. Fields, do you happen to know who sits on that board and who they're representing?
I know the mayor chairs it. I'm not sure the other members sit on there.
There's Ms. Higbotham, that's one of the chancellors of the El Camino School District. There's Mr. Michael Banner. Every person appointed is appointed by representing a taxable entity that receives tax proceeds. There's a representative from the City of Los Angeles. I forget the lady's name.
The school district.
There's a member from the school district, that's Latonya Kirk Carter now, and Margarita Cruz from our city sits on the board.
Thank you.
All right, Madam City Clerk.
Agency members, Stevens.
I have a comment, a question.
Councilman Stevens.
Is Mr. Ross here? Royce, excuse me, Mr. Royce Jones. I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Item number 41 states project implementation cost Hollywood Park. Item number 41. Okay, now can you describe to me just exactly, so the public will know, just exactly what is that exactly?
Project implementation costs are what the law allows successor agencies to to engage in when there are certain specific projects that have to be implemented that have been approved by the Department of Finance. So the Hollywood Park project was one of those projects that was recently approved by the Department of Finance on the ROPS, and as with regard to implementation of that particular project, there are various costs that are specifically related to that project, and that's what this particular item relates to.
And how much was it approved for by the Department of Finance?
Well, right now, there was no approval amount on the specific project, but we got the project approved because the approval is based upon the money necessary to carry out the project. So in this particular case, the numbers you see here related to Hollywood Park, in the columns that it says total due during this fiscal year, would represent the amount of money that the state, we're requesting of the state and of the oversight board to approve to administer this particular project.
I thought Hollywood Park was approved $22 million on their last ROPS. Is that correct?
Well, the project was approved. The $22 million was incidental to the approval of the project, which means that when we need that money, the ROP cycle is every 6 months. So when you actually have a need for the money, meaning that the obligation is due and payable, that's when you will see that obligation on the ROPS, on the particular ROP cycle for that 6-month period.
So that $22 million will be coming before council for final approval sometime in the future.
Portions of the $22 million will be coming before the council to the extent that it is on the ROPS to be approved, along with other obligations that would be necessarily, well, we would be requesting payment during that same 6-month period.
So just so the public understands this, the money that we're dealing with here, and the money that the $22 million and the other millions of dollars that are listed here, this is money from redevelopment, correct? From the dismantling of redevelopment by Governor Brown, correct? It's property tax increment.
This money is now considered to be property tax revenue, yes.
Property tax revenue. And before, this money would have been in our redevelopment agency, correct?
Before, most of the money would have been to the extent that the agency demonstrated debt obligations that required the payment.
Mm-hmm. And so, since it would have been with our redevelopment agency, it would have been used for development of projects throughout the city if we, in fact, had continued to have a redevelopment agency, correct?
As a matter of fact, the money probably would be spent in the similar way as it's presented on the ROPS, because this is still carrying out enforceable obligations of the former redevelopment agencies.
Mm-hmm. So the total value of this particular ROPS is what?
We're asking for $9,536,691.
$9 million. Okay, and this money is basically the property tax increment that would have been returned to the city of Inglewood?
Well, this is the amount of money that's necessary to carry out and implement the obligations that the former agency would have had.
I understand,
and it doesn't necessarily mean that there's that amount of property taxes available, but it's what we're requesting.
But this is the property tax increment from the properties in the city of Inglewood from the redevelopment areas, correct? Since it's been disbanded, correct?
Correct.
I mean, this property tax increment isn't a component from Culver City or Hawthorne, right? It's not that, is it?
No, it never has come from Hawthorne
it's
or
from
Culver City.
Inglewood. So
Yes.
these are the residents' $9 million, right?
This is the $9 million that the residents pay to the
Yeah.
county
And
tax assessor.
That's right. And the $22 million that will be coming on another ROPS for Hollywood Parks project, that is also part of property tax increment, correct?
Well, you won't see a $22 million debt, but you will perhaps see, based upon, I guess, what staff comes up with and how the OPA is implemented, you'll see perhaps a dollar amount that represents the obligation that the OPA says that the successor agency must pay to Hollywood Park.
My point is, Mr. Jones, is that I just hope that when you're in negotiations, make sure there's a project labor agreement, number one, and also that Inglewood residents will get hired on that site and prevailing wage will prevail on that site.
Thank you.
For the residents, $22 million.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Jones.
you, sir.
Madam City Clerk.
Agency members Stevens,
Aye.
Dunlap,
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Chairman Buds.
Aye. Adjourn the successor agency. Convene the Inglewood Housing Authority.
A
Madam City
quorum
Clerk.
is present.
H3.
Approval of the minutes of the meeting held October 16th, November 27th, and December 18th, 2012.
Move approval.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Agency members Stevens,
Aye.
Dunlap,
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Chairman Buds.
Aye. Adjourn the Inglewood Housing Authority. Convene the Inglewood Public Finance
A
Authority.
quorum is present.
F1.
Approval of the minutes held October 16th and November 27th, 2012.
Move approval.
Second.
Madam City Clerk.
Agency members Stevens,
Aye.
Dunlap,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Chairman Buds.
Adjourn the public, aye, adjourn the Public Finance Authority. Public comments, any persons wishing to comment
Quorum
on
is
items
present
not on
on
the agenda, city-related, may do so at this
for
time. Ma'am, could you
reconvening.
please come forward?
7:41.
I'm sorry to keep you waiting.
Reconvene.
Thank you. No. My name is Harriet
City
Elliott.
Council.
20 years ago, I was getting a bachelor's degree at Cal State Northridge, and I did an internship here at the local newspaper. And I got a chance to watch your two council members who I have subsequently read in this newspaper as being defamed absolutely tremendously. This is not journalism. You don't start an article saying that we have had enough. And now that I see that this paper is actually being subsidized by the city, it's outrageous. I am not surprised that Judy Dunlap asked that youngster to stop handing out the newspaper, that what they're talking about in here. I also agree with Michael Stevens' assessment of gang injunctions. We don't give police a blank check, okay? And what are the kind of issues that these two council members are bringing up? They're liberals. What happened 20 years ago? The mayor then, may he rest in peace, the LA Times said he had 4 years where he had no visible means of support. You know, you draw your own conclusions. Money used to rule in Inglewood. These people are helping it stay away from that. That's all I have to say.
I can't get it. You need to have it. Okay. Okay. My name is Rosemary Becker, and I live in Inglewood. I've been here since 1944. I would like you to know how prejudiced Willie Brown, editor of the Inglewood Today paper, is. He tells us to write the editor about issues. I wrote a letter on the 4th, and I called him on the 6th, and he got to see if it got printed. He said to me, all audios don't get printed, and if they do, they get edited for clarity. The letter was about Judy Dunlap. I said that if Gene Davis and Alex Padilla can get articles about them, Judy Dunlap should be able to get an article about her. And on the 7th, when the paper came out, there was an article about Judy, but it was not mine. It was a slander. Not one good thing was said about her. He or anybody else at the paper don't want people to know what good she has done and what continue to do the best of her ability. That is why she has been re-elected for so many years. I thought an editor of a paper was not supposed to take sides on issues or persons. He also asked me if I gave her a copy of the letter. I said yes. He said she has her own paper. That is not true. She only writes a column in the Morningside Chronicle. And I've worked on Judy Dunlap's re-election when she ran for mayor, and I'm working on her re-election too. And she's a very good person. Thank you.
Again, my name is Alfonso Parker Jr., I'm a Vietnam veteran, 66, 67, conscious objector. I'm harping on this senior citizen changing of the meetings to the general public, 1st and 3rd in the afternoons, whatever. Evidently, you people don't understand what you're dealing with. When you say privacy, you were federalized by Bush, and actually it went way back before then, in '74. Vietnam era veterans, they don't talk about. We're off the map. They jump from Korean War all the way to the current war. You people, when you quote and function under Privacy Act, which is a federal DOD, not presidents, not commander-in-chiefs, not generals, and not secretary of state or defense, you are screwing around with treason. You are outside of the Constitution of the United States. And it will bite you in the butt big time. Treason, there's no statute of limitation on it. This 70s ethics thing where you got congressmen investigating themselves. Most recent case Maxine Waters under investigation. When have you ever heard a case where you're on trial and somebody squeals, well, you've been doing it, and they stop the whole proceedings, and then half of them, if not all of them, 5 Republicans and 1 Democrat, recuse themselves from a thing, and then it doesn't go any further. The trial goes on, and then they come get the rest of you. You're flirting with treason, and if you think I'm lying about them, Maxine Waters, anybody, I don't care who. When I state DOD, Department of Defense, that is not executive. That is not the military. That is the Air Force. And they don't screw up like this. When you come across a document that's been tampered with and you've been authorized to have a security clearance by DOD, you are obligated and you better follow up and report it. Someone come and relieve you of that document, take all information, you, how you found it, where it came from, and they take it from you. You can lose your clearance if you're clear. Okay? Be careful what you do. And by the way, I'm after them. And I'm not scared of none of you. I serve my country, and I'm damn good at what I do. Mess with the wrong one, just like that fool today. And he's really not a fool. We know what's been happening to us in the community. We just picked the wrong way to deal with it.
Good evening, Council. I'm Willie Brown. I'm the publisher of Inglewood Today weekly newspaper, and I'm very proud to be that publisher. In fact, we've been publishing in Inglewood since 1994. I have a couple of questions I'd just simply like to ask. Is it not a conflict of interest to have 2 sitting members of the City Council to criticize a local newspaper that served the public when they themselves are the primary writers for a competing newspaper? I'd like to see if someone can answer that question. One of my problems in being able to make sure that every side of a story is covered is that I never get response back from Councilman Stevens and Dunlap. For instance, I wanted to know why, and the people that I represent wanted to know why she lied to the labor unions regarding the people that endorsed her campaign, people such as the deceased Ed Vinson, who everyone knew that Dunlap had a horrible experience with him during his time and tenure as mayor. Reverend Merriweather has been dead for a long time, and certainly other members that she represented, including Fire and others, disclaim her statements as being supporters of her campaign. How do you explain that? How do you tell the people that I'm the one that's a villain when in fact everyone involved have said that you've lied to them? Let's see you explain that. And then the other thing that really concerned me, and it was just borne out again here today by one of the ladies that spoke. Councilwoman Dunlap is taking pride of confronting a 12-year-old kid that's trying to do internship to deliver our newspapers and kick them out of a meeting. What kind of representation is that for the people of Inglewood to see? And guess what else? We're not the only newspaper that is telling the facts on those persons that's trying to deceive and manipulate and take advantage of the people of Inglewood. Other newspapers are holding their account of it as well. So Councilwoman Dunlap, make yourself available to answer some of these questions to the public. Not just up on the desk when people don't have a chance to defend themselves, such as the 12-year-old kid who you kicked out of a meeting and then went in front of all these people and told a lie and said the mayor sent him there. Well, I sent him there. That's for the record. And we will continue to do the kind of work that this city so desperately needs. We need to be moving forward. We've got young people who need jobs. We've got homeowners and people that live in this community who want to go to work. We have opportunities to generate a lot of revenue from these major corporations who want to do business. And our elected officials are not stupid. Our staff are not stupid and ignorant. They're not being paid by these people. They want to do good. But you guys seem to find a way to put these businesses down for political gains, and the people of Inglewood are sick and tired, and I think you will be seeing more of their sick and tiredness in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, my name is Howard Ely, 2nd District, and I was reading the Inglewood Today. I got back from Santa Fe last week, and it talks about an etch-a-sketch moment. Well, I think this is a buffoonery newspaper written by asinine idiots. I am glad that the publisher is here. You know, I read the other one before I went to Santa Fe for my birthday. It talks about obstructionists. What is a democracy? We have 5 people up here, and they get a chance to vote. And 2 people vote against the majority. Is that a democracy or is that obstruction? I look up there, and as I think back when I came to Inglewood, what have the council members done for the citizens, the taxpayers, even this man? Judy Dunlap is the only person sitting up there that has saved the citizens of Inglewood $10 million over the last 5 years in an illegal tax. $10 million that the city attorney told us that they were illegally collecting. Did you know about that? No, of course you know about that, because this is a piece. You know what you do with this here? You can't sell it, so you have to give it away. I understand. So what we have is a democracy. He gets a chance to voice his opinion, and I get a chance to voice some facts. I think that it's good that we dissent sometimes. Is that okay, Mr. Franklin, Mr. Morales, Mayor? We dissent. But the obstructionists cannot get anything done because we have 3 votes, and we, the taxpayers, have to go along with it. I'm glad we have an intelligent newspaper in Inglewood. Intelligent. I'm glad we're tired of the buffoonery. I'm glad that the citizens will get a point of view that is open and honest. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Joseph Texera. I'm asking this council to vote to remove James Butts as City Council Chair because of his repeated habit of deceiving the public. 2 weeks ago, James Butts denied a charge that when he was Santa Monica's police chief, he was sued for helping violate people's civil rights through violations of the Miranda rules. The mayor implied he wasn't really sued, that only his detectives were sued, but because he was police chief, his name was put on the lawsuit. However, actual court documents, a case review by the Yale Law School, and the actual ruling of the Court of Appeals indicate that the mayor deceived the public again. In general, Chief James Butts, of course, was responsible for the department's policies and training. But court documents also say that Butts personally issued a training bulletin approving the interrogation of people in violation of the Miranda rules and the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. Court documents also state that even after another court ruled that officers who violated the Miranda rules risked being sued, James Butts never canceled or even changed his training bulletin. The December 2002 Yale Law Review said that James Butts' police department and officers admitted in court that they had a policy of, quote, deliberately violating the Miranda rules, unquote. That's Yale talking, not me. So James Butts' detectives told the court, hey, we were trained to violate the rules. But the court said on page 75 of its ruling, quote, the fact that Los Angeles and Santa Monica may have trained their officers to violate the rights of individuals does not provide any defense for these officers, unquote. Those aren't my words, those are the words of the Court of Appeals. The court indicated the James Butts Police Department had a tactic of, quote, routinely and intentionally ignoring requests to speak to an attorney, unquote. And the mayor's claim that his name was on the lawsuit as a formality is repeatedly contradicted in court documents that say that Butts approved violations of the Miranda rules, and on page 52 of the court's ruling, where it says that James Butts requested immunity from being personally sued, and the court denied his request. So James Butts was personally sued for helping train people to violate civil rights. He and the other defendants lost at least one appeal and their attempt to get the Supreme Court to overturn their loss. Their loss sent a message to police departments everywhere that if you get caught doing what James Butts and his officers got caught doing, you can be personally sued. I have copies of all the documents to give, or just Google Butts versus McNally to see for yourself. Of course, Mayor Butts will abuse his power as council chair, lie, mislead the public, violate meeting rules, the law, and the rights of people in Inglewood. He approved a formal policy that for years systematically violated people's civil rights in Santa Monica. He needs to be removed as council chair.
Good afternoon, Ethel Austin. I have a few things to mention. First, I want to say that Inglewood News, you being paid by the city of Inglewood, which is a difference. This is a private-owned newspaper. So whatever they want to say, they can say. If I want to say something, I could say it. This is the free land. Okay? You being paid by the mayor.
Ms. Austin, please address your comments to the council.
But I'm just saying, and to you, it is true with McNally, you were sued, and you did lose. Yes, you did. Richard Donner should know something about you too. But anyway, I'm gonna change that too. I want to thank everyone from the homeless program. It was a success, and we did the job. And I want to thank Judy Dunlap for orchestrating. If it wasn't for you, I couldn't have got it all done. We had a lot of volunteers. We had to ship them out. Mike, also, thank you very much. And everyone knows what's going on now. You could believe that. Also, what else I wanted to mention? That the Inglewood Today newspaper is old news. The Wave bring you new news. And we need to know what's updated. Plus, every time I get it on the web, it has a virus in it. I can't open it. And I told Willie about it. So I'm just mentioning that because since you're paying him, we should have a paper that we could open. Also, that gang injunction. It's something I want to mention on that. I notice y'all quick to give money to the police for gang injunctions. There's a lot of kids was put into the system, black, that can't work, just like Councilman Stevens said, because they're in the system. I know several dirty cops rode up on them because they was on bicycles and said, oh, you look like you belong to the Swans, or you look like you belong to 8 Trays. And I know that for a fact because they all call me, especially in District 4. I know what's going on over there, too. Since the councilman don't know what's happening, I do, because I get calls from these kids. And they are. And you should not issue out a gang junction just like that. We're not having gang problems. It's not the gang, it's the police the problem. He the one out here killing all the police. They kill each other. But yet y'all want to kill the innocent people. We're not the ones. We paying for you all to kill us. This is America, though. This is what we paying for. And I don't blame Richard Donner. I don't blame him. Rampart should have been closed ever since Rodney King died. It should have been closed. That's the KKK outfit right there in 77. It should have been closed. And whatever happened, supposed to happen. I pity the kids, but I don't think he did it. And dirty as the cops are, I think you set him up.
Hi, how are you doing? I see the people that I helped put in office. And my name is Florence. I've been calling your office a lot, asking for you. I met you in the elevator. You don't remember me. Maybe I remember you. I will never forget you. I know you too. Okay? You don't do anything for people. We place you in office and you do nothing. I'm going Republican. Mr. Stevenson, why don't you get on the Republican banner? You get voted, you take his job, okay? And she can be your assistant. But I want to complain about the police department. I have a mentally ill son, abused in the system, been in the system. He's a gay man. And the police officers harass him all the time. And I'm his mama from South Carolina. And so much I take from people. They have an officer who harasses us all the time, right up against me on the bus, on the street. Where are you and your crazy son? I said, come on a little closer. I don't have a gun to shoot you with, but I'll spit in your face. I will do that. But I went down to the police station, and they told me, maybe I'm saying something wrong, but I'm free. Okay, I'm free. And people, I watched Inglewood police, and wait until those young people come out of school. They line up little black boys all the time. And you know, I say, wouldn't you like to be a police officer? I'd be nice. No. I try to encourage black young people, men, especially men, to get into the system as far as police officers, to make a change, to make a difference. I have family who are police officers, and they're making a change in Philadelphia, New York. But Inglewood don't do anything. You gotta have some little radical police officers. All they do is pull out the gun, want to shoot somebody. And what are you gonna do about that? And why don't you let the people determine who would be police officers? Because you have a lot of psychotic type of people. But as she said, Mr. Donner,
Okay, got my message.
Ma'am, time's up.
My name is Diane Sembrano, and I got to tell you, that was $9 million. How much was it? $9 million? Divided by 5 minutes. And golly gee whiz, wow. Ever so terribly important to get out of here that $9 million was not worth discussing. Actually, the entire paper, which should have been discussed, is $182 million. Tax dollars could have been used for a whole truckload of things, but one man needs to get home, needs to get out, needs to go away, so we don't want to discuss it in public. Public dollars not being discussed in public because someone's got a hurry up and get on out of here attitude. I don't know why it is so freaking important to get out of here so quickly when I'm paying you $118,000 a year. I don't know why it is that we don't even meet every single one of the 52 weeks out of the year. This is the only place you should be discussing these things for the public, and you choose to hurry up and get on out. There's a whole lot of people would hurry up and ask you to get on out of the chair. Because if you're not going to sit here and do the job, you shouldn't be sitting there. The job of informing the people and being transparent. For those who did not attend the January 31st BOAC meeting, I did. I didn't realize you spoke. You didn't even take 3 lousy little 2-bit minutes. Not even 3. So everyone can go see your discussion to BOAC, the most important thing that will happen to this entire community, in less than 3 minutes because you had to hurry up and get on out. You were allotted 5, but because you're elected, you could have gone on forever. And you go see that at lawa.org, BOAC, that stands for Board of Airport Commissioners. Click on the video broadcast, the January 31st meeting, and watch you basically say, when I was a police officer, there was good and there was bad, and safety was good. So I hope you make a good decision. That's essentially what you said. You can see that at 29 minutes into the meeting and 39 seconds. And then see if we think we were well represented, because I certainly don't. If Bill Rosendahl, Maxine Waters, Denny Zine, Janice Hahn, and Jane Harmon give a rip about this community and went on and on and on and on, I am absolutely and completely angered that you took less than 3 minutes. And yes, the lawsuit will go forward. Our lawsuit, not paid for by tax dollars, to protect this community, which our elected don't seem to care about.
My name is Willie A.G., and I live in the beautiful city of Englewood. You know, to prove that the city of Englewood is a fabulous place to live, the very people that come up here every week, the mayor, the police department, they have to go out and protect these same issues. That's a fact. They're not prejudiced. They see them every week, but they take care of them. I want to thank Mr. Wood Brown for representing this city. He and his newspaper has been here for many years. But there's another newspaper that just showed up since the election started. I don't know the whole story behind it. That's represented two city council people on Ms. Dunlap, Mr. Michael Stevens. I don't know where the newspaper came from. I don't know anything about it, but I do know it was out there. Fine man. And I want to tell you this. You know, every time we have a black man that's successful and represents people, you know what happens? We have the very same people mic and demean him. Pull him down, just like they did back home. These same people, every week, right up here demeaning the mayor, until they can pull him down. But I can guarantee you, this man here won't go anywhere. He's representing this city. Mr. Franklin is representing this city. Mr. Morales is representing this city. I can guarantee you that. I've been a regular here for 18 years. I can sit right in that chair right there. I know the leaders. I know the people that's not leading this city. I just want people out there to know that you have three people on this council that's represent the city that I appreciate. I've been here for 50 years, and I know all the people that's been here for 20, 25 years, and I can tell you this: we have one of the best staffs we ever had here, and we have three mayor. All I can say, hang in there and keep on doing what you're doing. How sweet it is. Thank
you. Frank, and I live in District 4. Somewhere back there, maybe a year ago, I read in, I don't even recall, but in order for Inglewood to, I'd like somebody to speak on this, to advertise in Inglewood today, does that paper have to be adjudicated? Speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Close public comment, council comment, Councilman Stevens.
Yes, in order for a legal notice to be published, my understanding is that, yes, it does need to be adjudicated. It has to be adjudicated by the court. That is my understanding. So when public notices are posted, it does need to be adjudicated. That is my understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing against anyone who comes to that podium. Matter of fact, my position as an elected official is to listen to each and every one of you, but to also provide you and stand up for you when I see that you're not being given that right to say whatever you choose to at that podium. The lady that wanted to speak earlier, she has since left. She wanted to speak regarding Inglewood today. That was her position, it wasn't mine. But the issue was that it was in fact in the warrant registry. And it identifies in the warrant registry item 530975, Inglewood Today Weekly, and it states very clearly here that there is an advertisement for $575. And then there's also a publication of ordinance, which Frank, you just mentioned, perhaps that are the legal notices for $3,500 in Inglewood Today. Now, here's the issue that I have with the lady that wanted to speak. She was not given an opportunity to, because see, she may have had a son, nephew, grandchild, whomever. She herself may have went over to the form to apply for a job that was advertised in the Inglewood Today. Now, the significance of that is this, is that the Inglewood Today was distributed on Thursday, just here at City Hall. In the community, it wasn't distributed until late Thursday evening at 5 or 6, and then the following Friday and Saturday. The job notice that was in the Inglewood Today was for that Thursday. So, what are we talking about? On Thursday the 7th of this month, the form ran an advertisement for Inglewood residents to come and, if you would like to, fill out an application to remove the seats inside of the form at $10 to $12 an hour to come to the form and fill out an application. When I arrived there, after seeing this advertisement in the Inglewood Today that was dropped off here at City Hall at 9 o'clock in the morning, I arrived there, only 2 people had filled out an application, and they were actually people who walked around the farm. I stayed there until 12 o'clock, and at that point, only 3 had. Now, they got it, the gentlemen, the people who were at the forum at that time got in contact with New York. New York contacted me at 2 o'clock, and miraculously, they said they had 3 times the amount of people. Ladies and gentlemen, my time is just about up, but the issue becomes this. Those individuals removing those lead-based paint seats, they should be paid a prevailing wage, $35 to $45 an hour. Instead, those individuals working there are working for $10 to $12 an hour. And that's my point. It's your money. We gave $18 million to the forum, made it available for them. $18 million of your money. And that's the bottom line. And that's why I stated what I said. And I only wish I had more time. I didn't have to rush through things.
Thank you,
and be interrupted by the mayor. But the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for your support. Continue to come. And you definitely have my respect. Those of you who support me and those of you who do not. I will always respect you anytime you come to that podium. Have a good evening.
Councilwoman Dunlap.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Actually, I'm going to speak once again to the comment that you made. When the woman came up and you said she had to sit down, it's not up to necessarily to her to give the exact item. You as the chair should know what's on the agenda. If you're familiar with the warrant register, you would have known Inglewood today was on there, so she could have spoken to it instead of usurping her rights and having her sit down. I think you should always rule in, if there's a question in your mind, rule in favor of the public to have an opportunity to speak. With regard to the slanderous newspaper that's been referenced here this evening, that person, or the writers, if you notice, there's never a byline on those slanderous stories. And I would suggest to the publisher who spoke that I'd be happy to submit articles from the point of view of the truth if they would be unedited. And if I receive a guarantee that they will be unedited and printed word for word as I present them, then that seems very reasonable to me, and I'd be happy to accommodate his desire to have me in his paper. So once again, unedited, I'll be happy to submit articles to him. The other newspaper asked me to do a column, and I'm very happy to do that, as one of my colleagues is doing that as well. Also, I found that interesting when the publisher was speaking, and he should speak more often, because he said, the people I represent. Well, exactly who are the people you represent? You're to be a journalist, you have a newspaper, so if you're representing someone, you're in the wrong business. You need to be a political hack, because that's who represents people in print. I want to also just, let's see if there's anything else I have in there, close by saying 2 things. One is I'm having a town hall meeting on the 28th of February in the first floor of City Hall, 7 o'clock, so please mark your calendars. Everyone is welcome. Once again, February 28th, 7 p.m. in the evening for the town hall meeting for District 2. And with regard to the airport meeting that was referenced earlier and the city's point of view and what's going to protect our community, I had an initiative before this council a number of years ago that what the city of Inglewood should be advocating for is over-the-ocean takeoff and landings. This city will never be fully protected until we have over-the-ocean takeoffs and landing. Period. Soundproofing our homes, we need to do that. However, it's temporary. Soundproofing only lasts for about 10 years. And the way the agreement was written up, they won't come back and redo it. So the agreements that have been written up, ladies and gentlemen, if your home has been soundproofed, it's great for now when it's new, but you need to get those people negotiating, supposedly negotiating on your behalf, as I've been advocating for, is that they need to be able to go back and redo them when the life expectancy of those materials is gone to continue to protect you. But the best way of saving this city with regard to our quality of life and actually promoting us as a city and making our homes more valuable is to advocate for over-ocean landings and takeoffs 100%. Then we will have a real vibrant city here in the city of Inglewood and a great place to live. Thank you.
Councilman Morales.
Thank you.
But before you do that, Madam City Clerk, is there an issue with the paper being adjudicated?
I just want to state that There was a question that was asked about adjudication. That question is correct. You do have to be adjudicated to the paper, to the city of Inglewood, and Inglewood Today is adjudicated, and we have to house those documents in our office if people asked, and we have them available.
Thank you. Councilman Morales.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Brown, you got more advertisement today than I've seen in all these years, I'll tell you that. You know, it's one of those situations where every time this season rolls around, which is election season, you know, we see a lot of things, a lot of excitement based on what's written, based on what's around. It is part of it. It's something that we all up here put up with, and we will continue to do so. We actually have another few months of this, so you know, I look forward to seeing everything that's written. When you're a paper that's been around for so long, you know, you definitely take the time to research and everything else. But there's been other papers here during all of our elections. Some are still around, some have left. But it's one of those things where I would hate the public to see it as an actual issue. This is just the season we're in. Some things are around for that season, and then they go away. I'd like to focus a couple positive things. I'd like to thank the kids over at St. John's who invited me to speak at their career day. They were great kids. You know, it's nice to know that we have such a nice school in the area that really focuses on education and really getting them prepared for both high school and college. It was a pleasure being over there. Also like to point out Century Flowers, who a couple weeks ago, me and the mayor were over there to celebrate their 15-year anniversary. You know, they're a unique flower shop in the sense that they've been open pretty much every day for like 15 years. And the best thing about that flower shop is that for the last 10 years, they allow students from the high schools here to earn credits for their internship. They train them in both assembling flowers and in the business at hand. So, you know, that was great to see. We were out there with them on that. Now, in regards to what we can kind of argue for in terms of the airport, let's face it, the airport's not going anywhere. There's been countless studies on the sound, on the levels of sound, how we can improve it. We can continue to ask for certain things, really push for certain things, but meanwhile, we still need our windows insulated. Meanwhile, we still need to work with the airport and FAA to collect those funds to continue to do the homes. Meanwhile, we still need to advocate to get certain streets included in some of the things that happen on those projects. So, you know, it's easy to get up here and say, you know, let's not do anything until they give us an extra $100 million. Well, guess what? We'd be here for a long time, and there would be no houses done. So, you know, we'll continue to be here as long as we keep the city moving forward. And as far as the folks coming forward and saying what they want to say, I think it's great. It's been like that for the 10 years I've been here. Nothing's changed, and I think it's great. So thank you, and good night for coming out.
Councilor Franklin.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Actually, I keep hearing people approaching the dais, or I should say the podium, repeatedly, and they're talking about negative things. And I have to tell you, the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. And I just welcome those individuals to start turning around and thinking of positive things on how this city is turned around, and you be part of the solution. The other concern is, I understand there's, under First Amendment rights, there's freedom of speech. So you have that right. But again, I want to remind everyone that when you're at that podium and we're here on this dais, you're not the only ones that is hearing what is being said or being viewed what is being said. And then you come to us and say that we don't want to have to pay more taxes, but yet at the same time, you want service. And that when we reach out for businesses to say that we want to help improve our economic balance of the city with job opportunities and maintaining and improving the services we now have, you can't figure out why it's not happening. Because these developers and other residents that desire to come to live in this city see these broadcasts, hear these broadcasts, and as you've heard before, and it's on the news today, bad news sells. And if you want this city to soar, it starts with you as the residents, taxpayers, to help us be part of the good news that this city has to offer. And on that good note, I'm leaving and saying, everyone, happy Valentine's Day, and provide your family and loved ones unconditional love. Thank you and good night.
Okay, well, I have a couple things to say, and we're going to get to your questions before we end. You know, I usually ignore all the things that are said, but I got to tell you something. I find something very fascinating. Two council people over here talk about everybody's free speech and how we should talk to ad infinitum and we should stay as long as it takes to do the people's business. But as soon as they've said what they have to say, they usually get up off the dais and leave. One, that's rude. Two, it's contempt for both you and the process. But who's leaving early? It certainly isn't us, all right? Secondly, Ms. Sobrano commented first last week, said that none of us bothered to come to the hearing, and she was wrong. I was there. I did speak for 3 minutes. I spoke for as long as I thought I needed to. So now, I'm supposed to speak in accordance to her parameters of time and both content, or I'm to be mocked and ridiculed. I think that's kind of un-American. We put out an $18 million loan that will be forgiven over time if the form meets certain requirements. They originally were supposed to invest between 50 and 60 million in the rehab of the form. They estimate it will now be $100 million on top of a $22 million purchase. That $18 million was redevelopment money that would have gone back and been split between the taxable entities, and it allowed the business model to work so they could come in here and open the forum. I'll never be ashamed of that. Let's talk about this thing that I violated people's constitutional rights. I shouldn't have to, but I need to. Let's settle this once and for all. There was a deputy district attorney in Orange County named DeValis Rutledge, and he wrote a training memo about questioning outside of Miranda. And what he recommended was that when a suspect invoked that even though his statements could not be used against him, to continue to question anyway, because if the suspect took the stand, then his statements now could be used to impeach him, and that was the quality of the law then. He published a training bulletin. He sent it to Santa Monica. My training officer sent it out. We had two detectives that questioned a murder suspect. His name was McNally. He was a murder suspect, and he did get on the stand, and he was impeached by his statements that he made outside Miranda. Okay, and so later he sued to have his conviction overturned. Now, when they sue a police department, they sue the chief. And here I go, I get subpoenaed to federal court. I have nothing to do with it, but I'm the chief. That's why the city sought immunity for me. The court didn't give me immunity. When they made their finding, there were no damages levied against me. The department was not enjoined. It was a ruling of the court. And so for someone to pretend this is something that I did, advocated, it's totally disingenuous, and they would have to know it while they're telling you. I'm very proud of my career. I've been offered position after position, and never a good job. They're only good jobs when I finished them. So that is the answer on the McNally issue. And now about sound installation. Now, my colleagues know that I'm working with LAWA to try and get us access to money that we've timed out on. And so they're very fearful of that. So now they want to move the finish line. And all of a sudden, we should have over-ocean landings. All of a sudden, it's not good enough to have your sound installation because they know I intend to get it for us. See, this is what's going on. And you see they're not here. So I don't usually talk about this, but this political theater is just what it is. And, you know, the plants in the audience, bringing people, it's foolish. We should do better for our city. We should be more mature than this. This little theater here doesn't represent what the majority of our life in our community is about. So I want to tell you that we are moving forward despite what you might hear. We are making progress, and we will get to where we need to be. So thank you very much.